Welcome to Magical Reawakening Radio. I am so happy you're here with me. If you are brand new to the podcast, videocast, welcome. If you are rejoining, I am so glad to have you back. I use this podcast as a way to talk about tarot because it is the thing that I love so much, but because tarot is this amazing system that then branches out into all sorts of things. We also talk about a little bit of astrology, a little bit of manifestation, a little bit of color and numerology, a little bit of magic in general, because this is what I used to reawaken the magic within me. And so I like to talk about it and talk about all sorts of ways that we can get a little more magical. So welcome. Today we are going to talk about the fact that we have a new moon upcoming, and so we'll talk about the new moon and the tarot card that's associated with this new moon. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about color, because last week I talked about the Fool card and did talk about colors that show up on the Fool card and what those mean. And I realized I haven't really talked about that. So we're going to dive into colors. And then at the end, I will pull the tarot card as a general reading for us all. I'll probably focus in on what intentions we can set on this new moon. So let's dive in. We're kicking off with the fact that right now we are in Scorpio season still. And we will be for another 9, well, when this gets released, so I'll release this on Friday, that'll be the 14th, so then we'll have like another 7 days of being in Scorpio season. So that means that this new moon is a new moon in Scorpio, because when we're a new moon, it means the sun and the moon are in the same area of our astrological chart, our wheel. And so we are in Scorpio season, and if you have listened to any of my recent episodes, we have talked about the fact that the Death card is what is associated with Scorpio season. Now, the reason I say recently, because I talked about the Death card when the sun moved into Scorpio. And then I talked about the Death card a bunch when we talked about the fact that I did some scary cards. Okay, so I highlighted some of the scarier cards, what people might consider to be scary in the tarot. I did talk about those a few episodes ago, and Death came up then as well. And now, because we are in our new moon in Scorpio, yet again, we get to talk about death. And I think that this is really important, because you know what? I don't think that we necessarily talk about death as much as we could be talking about death, because there is this fear of death. It's there. We are all terrified of it. And that's understandable. It's a big unknown. We don't know what happens after we die. We have people who tell us all sorts of things. There's religions that have set up their systems of what they think happens after we die, and they share that, and people will choose to use that as their framework to realize. There are people who have had near-death experiences, and they share their information that they have found when they had that experience on what death was like for them. And then there are lots of philosophers and lots of philosophical thoughts around what happens when we die, right? But really, it is such a great unknown, because people normally don't die and then be able to tell us about it. So you have to come up with your own ideas and find the thing that feels right for you when it comes to death. And that can be really nerve-wracking. And that's why we tend to find a philosophy and kind of just stick with it, because it makes it easier for us to then go, okay, people are no longer with me. I do not see them in the physical space where I have been spending my life. Therefore, this is scary and sad, because A, I don't know what's going to happen to me when I die. B, I miss the people who are no longer here once they die, right? And so we start getting really sad and scared and cling on to the idea of like, well, it's not good then. It is not a good thing. And so when we are in this season of the year, when we're in Scorpio season, it does offer us this ability to kind of consider what death might mean, right? We have Halloween, which is, based on All Hallows Eve and Samhain. So we've got this connection to ancestors. We've got Dia de los Muertos. We've got ancestors and souls and spirits, where we are knowing that it is getting darker. The night is getting longer, and we know that our harvest is done. The plants are losing their leaves. Like, it is around us, this transition time. And we're all focused on it. And so Death card being associated with Scorpio season makes total sense, and it gives us that opportunity to really consider it and gives us a chance to maybe sit with it in a way that we don't always choose to sit with it. So that's my thoughts around death and why we find it so scary. Now, the Death card in tarot very much shows that death is coming for all of us, okay? So we've got a skeleton in armor on a white horse. Horses are indicative of movement in the tarot. They show that fast movement. We are moving with purpose, okay? And the white is indicative of spirit. So when we look at white, we're looking at the fact that this is connected to the spirit realm. And then you can see that we've got a little bit of everybody here underneath this horse. We've got an old person laying down. We have some younger people. We have someone who looks like the Pope. And so the idea that no matter what, the cycle is going to end at some point. In the background, we have these towers, and the towers back there are the towers that lead to the unknown. And the sun is rising behind those towers. So we have this reminder, we may not know what's next, but there is another cycle to come. And so when I see the Death card for me is the idea of an ending and then a new beginning, okay? We close the book. This is the book we had been reading. We got to the end. The words were written there, the end. And now we're closing the book, but often we pick up a new book to read, right? So the sun is rising on the unknown, in that new space for us to go. So if we consider the Death card outside of like my death, okay? So if we're pulling tarot for ourselves and we're like, oh, tarot, I pulled the Death card, I'm gonna die. Well, no, that's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at what is ending, okay? Yes, you are going to die at some point, but most likely this card is not predicting your death. This card is predicting that something is coming to an end. There's a cycle that needs to end here, because when the cycle ends, we can start anew. A new cycle can begin after this. The plants die in the fall, they are dormant throughout the winter, spring comes again, the sun rises, nice and bright for longer periods of time, and then we're able to have growth of new things, okay? And so death is just the end of the cycle and the beginning of a new one. And that's going to mean lots of different things. So that's what's going on here in this card. Now we have a new moon. New moons are the point in time where we do some clearing and we do some planting of seeds. We get that intention started so that when we plant the seed, we know that we're able to then watch it grow, right? So if we're saying that this new moon is connected with the Death card, then it's a really extra potent time to really think about, what can I clear out right now? What is it that is no longer needed in my life that I can clear out so that I can plant the seeds of intention for what it is I'm looking to cultivate? by clearing out the space, by removing the things that are no longer serving, it leaves space for us to actually start growing something new. So this new moon is that question of, what new things do I want to plant seeds around? What is it that I can know I am done with this cycle? This is the thing I do not want to do anymore. This is the thing I am ending so that I can plant the seeds for new things to start growing. Okay. And so when the new moon comes, if you would like to sit with an intention, that is a great thing to think about as you lead up to it, to journal on it, to really sit and go, okay, what is it? What is no longer serving me that I'm ready to say goodbye to? Okay. The great thing about when the death card shows up is it's almost like a permission slip. Okay. If you've been considering ending something, you've been considering things no longer working for you, but you just haven't been able to let go, the death card shows up and is like, here, you are able to say, okay, you're right. This is not for me anymore. Let's end this. Let's take the time to really clear this out. So that is the recommendation for what's going on with this new moon and with the death card connected to it, is really taking that time to clear things out, which is what we do on the new moon anyway, but really go deep into that, really sit with that and think about what it really means for you. And I have found when I am not sure what that is, the best way for me to actually get into those spaces is just to write. And so to write down the question, what is it that I'm clearing out for this new moon to make space for the things that I wish to see? And by writing that down and then writing down the things that come, that just pop up, and writing it all down over and over and over, and just letting yourself write for 5 minutes and seeing what pops up will give you some of that wisdom of what you're really looking for. And then what you can do is on the new moon, if you would like, you can either take that and burn that note as a symbol of like, I've done this, or if you want to flush it down the toilet, or if you just want to drench it in water, or you could just throw it in the trash. And if that's the easiest, and you just say, thank you, this is being released, right? And so you're taking that symbol of your physically then doing the thing, which helps with the energetic levels of wanting to get rid of that thing. So that is my recommendation of a nice, easy ritual you can do for this new moon. When it comes to tarot, one of the things that I absolutely love about tarot is that it is a system with ties to lots of different magical systems, okay? The tarot tells a story, so you can learn through storytelling. The tarot has tons of symbols. You can go down rabbit holes of like, oh, this symbol's on this card and this card and this card and this card, and look at how they all tie together and they have this central theme, right? It's tied to the elements. We have water, earth, air, fire in all of them, okay? In spirit. All of those are represented in there. It's got numbers. If you're into numerology, or if you want to get curious about numerology, the numbers are there. Everything's connected to the astrology, okay? And you don't have to touch any of those things. But the fact that they are all there in the tarot allows for you to see into different systems. It allows you doors into spaces you didn't know you want to explore. Or if you're like me and you just sometimes need to switch it up because your brain is bored with whatever's going on, then you can suddenly go, oh, I can still use my tarot to learn astrology. Oh, let me really look at the symbols that have connections to the cups because I'm really curious about that. So it gives you a chance to almost look at something else if you feel the desire to expand out of what you know already in the tarot. There's so many different ways you can go with it. I think that's really awesome. One of the things that you can look at, which is really prominent on the Smith Rider Waite deck, are the colors. The Smith Rider Waite deck, often known as the Rider Waite deck, I like to put Pamela Coleman Smith's name at the beginning, the Smith part because she was the illustrator of the deck. She was the one who actually did all of the art and intentionally chose everything that went into the imagery on these decks, and that includes color, which I said we were going to talk about. So let's start with looking at the death card. Okay. On the death card, we've got gray, which is really our combination of white and black, right? Our polarity of extremes here, where black is void, nothingness, white is spirit. We've got our gray in between. Okay, so we've got gray skies. We have black, void, empty, darkness, nothingness. We have white on the horse. We've got spirit, and we've got white on our rose. Okay. We also have blue. Now, blue is going to be tied into water. It can dip back and forth between our intuition third eye space, right, and our throat. Both of those kind of come together. So then it's like, okay, are we speaking out what we need to speak out, or are we seeing the things that we need to see on an intuitive level? So this here, the blue very much is the water, and so it's very much that intuitive, allowing the flow to happen and trusting the process, okay? We've got green down here for the grass, but green is connected to the heart space. So that is our heart chakra showing up. And so it is very much a trusting that death comes in the sense of release is a loving side of things. By being able to be willing to release yourself from whatever it is that's no longer serving you, you're tapping into that heart space to understand what it is and why. You know, yellow is our color of showing up. Yellow is the color of standing in your truth. It's our solar plexus. So that is this space that really says, I am shining bright. We've got the sun behind it, those pillars of uncertainty, right? And so the truth is out there. Your truth is available to you, right? So the yellow shows up for that reason. And they have, I was trying to see if there was any red. So there's red in the feather on the hat. There's red in the sails of the boat in the background. And then there's red on the shoes of this person laying underneath the horse. Red is our groundedness, our rootedness, our trust in knowing that this is the right thing. Okay. And so this card actually has a lot of the colors on it already that really help us feel that completion of everything that is a part of this. Let's see, I decided to pull out temperance. No orange here, but again, we can look how the colors play out differently on this one. We still have the gray background on the sky here. Not everybody has a gray sky. The sun has a blue sky. Okay, we also have the hangman's gray. Oh, here's justice. Some of the same colors. We've got lots of red, so lots of rootedness, lots of staying grounded in our truth and understanding that rootedness, okay? But we've got yellow in the background. So once we're rooted in our truth, then we go through and we know that we're able to take that and shine bright with it, right? So we've got the combination. We have that combination of the veil of rootedness with the truth behind it, okay? Our shining bright showing up behind it, which is very important when we talk about justice, right? We need to be confident in ourselves and what we know so that we can then speak out what it is that we want to say. We can show up and shine bright with that, right? And then you've got the green draped over their shoulders. They're doing this from a space of compassion, heart-led. Okay. And so if you're sitting and looking at the justice card and you're not entirely sure how this all makes sense, then you can say, okay, there's a lot of red. We're talking about groundedness. There's green. There's green draped over their shoulders. So we're still looking at those heart spaces, right? So that is still showing up here. The yellow shows up as our shining bright. Okay. And so knowing that all of those colors play a part in the cards does make it a lot easier when you pull a card and you're not sure what it is that we're looking at. Let's see. Here is the Knight of Wands. Okay, we've got our blue background, so we're showing up bright. It's clear sky. We're able to see what's going on, and we're able to share that with others, right? We have the orange, so this one actually has a bunch of orange. The horse is orange, and that one orange hadn't shown up as much on the other cards. Orange is our sacral, so it's our creativity, it's our passion, it's that burning desire that drives us, right? And so that's why the Knight of Wands is on this orange horse, because it is the idea that our creativity and passion is driving us forward. Okay, and then he's got yellow on his tunic, so we've got the yellow of, okay, but we're showing up. We're letting our creativity drive us so that we can show up as ourselves in this flaming fire, passion, purpose. Okay, and so if you pull a card and you have a general idea of what's going on with it, but then also you look at the colors associated with it, it really can help strengthen that feeling of like, this is what this card means. This is the direction I'm going with it. And it's just another amazing way to look at the cards and go, okay, this is something else that I can focus on when I pull this card to understand what's going on and how to take this energy forward. This is another thing that my logic brain can latch onto that I can then run with and see, where else can this go? What does that mean for this meaning of the card? And so that is one of the reasons all of those systems really add into the reason why I say, like, hey, Smith Rider Waite deck is a fantastic first deck because it's all there. You don't have to look at any of it to start. But as you start understanding parts of the cards, or if you're having trouble connecting into a card, you can instead just look at the colors, look at nothing else but the colors, and knowing, like, okay, I looked up what the meaning is, and these are the colors that are really strong on this card. That's what this means. And so I highly recommend considering the colors when you are going through this. And right now, lately, colors have been a big part of what's going on with me outside of tarot, because I've been doing a lot more painting lately. And so really considering what colors I use in an image really does play into that. Like, oh, what does that color mean to me? And what feelings does that color invoke? And how does that color really impact what message I think is trying to come through in this piece of art? Because I'm really trying to tie this art into magic for me. And so the fact that it is also here on these tarot cards is really special and exciting, and just something else you can consider when you're learning and you're reading for others or just yourself. So that's my talk about colors for today. If you are interested in diving deeper, or you have more questions, or there's insights you have, feel free to put them in the comments. I love responding to comments. I love talking about this. Find me on Instagram or Threads, and let's chat more about colors. I love it. I'm going to pull a card based on the new moon and ask what should we focus on when we go to set our intentions around clearing this new moon. The card I pulled is the Nine of Wands. Now, wands are all about creativity and passion, which I talked about with the Knight of Wands. And nines are all about assessment. So it's taking a pause and really considering what's going on. So for this new moon, as you go to set your intentions on clearing things out, on really making space to set seeds, making space to plant seeds, consider the work you have done in your creative spaces, okay? So often we finish a project and we're ready to jump into the next one, right? We're like, okay, done, moving on. But we don't always take a pause to consider how things have gone to be able to really embrace the work that we've already done, the sacrifices and effort that has gone into all of the creativity, all of the projects that are completed already. We're just looking for the next battle, okay? And so to clear out, so for this new moon, the advice is to really, before you clear anything out, really take stock of what you have accomplished. Because if you just clear it out, we don't learn from what is next. We potentially go through the same cycles again because we don't even remember, or we don't integrate in what we've already accomplished and the sacrifices we made and the joy and things that are beautiful that have come from the work we have done already. So as you go to clear things out, really make sure you say thank you to the version of yourself that did those things, or from the work that came of it, and really acknowledge how much that has made an impact on you. And then when it's time to let it go so that you can move on to the next thing. But don't just clear it out without setting the proper thank you and acknowledgement along the way. That's my advice for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are learning tarot and you'd like to get a little bit deeper, I have a tarot starter pack in my shop that I absolutely love. Highly recommend that. I also have single card tarot prompts for depending on the energy of the day. You can also check that out in my shop. I will be back next week with more tarot and magic to talk with you guys. And I would love if you would subscribe so you know exactly when it releases. I will see you next time. Bye for now.